Hi there, I'm here with Abby Jones from Google. Hi, Abby.
Hi, Katie.
How are you doing?
Oh, great today. Thanks.
How's the weather there in Timbuktu?
I'm in the meeting room called Timbuktu. All of our meeting rooms in this building are named after African cities.
Okay, so Abby has been an interaction designer at Loomis Group and then MySpace, and so now you're at Google. So how did you get into interaction design?
Well, I started out as a teacher, even though I've been making things for the internet for about 20 years now. I didn't really become an interaction designer was until I got fired from a job where I was an assistant. And I'm horrible at watering plants, is what I learned. Awful assistant. Never hire me to be your assistant. And I interviewed for a job where I'd be managing a teacher certification candidate program. And during the interview, the guy who was hiring, he said, "Oh, it looks like you have a lot of experience with the internet, and we're building this application that helps people track their progress in teacher certification. And do you know how to use Photoshop?" And basically from there, I started doing design work professionally, and that was about 10 years ago. But it wasn't until I needed to order business cards that I had to figure out what I was really doing. And so I just typed into Google jobs that use Visio and Snagit, because that's really what I was using most of the time. And Google basically said, "You're an information architect." And once I had a name for the field I was working in, it was a lot easier to find resources and meet other professionals. And that was about 10 years ago, and I'm still doing this work today, and I love it.
Cool. Yeah. And so going back to what you just said about, you started as a teacher and then you kind of found your way into finding resources and connecting that information for teachers. And then now you're kind of in the social sphere. What has the journey been like for you in going between those different verticals?
Well, when you're a teacher, and also when I was working in teacher certification, you see the impact of your work immediately. So with students, you see them improve as readers and writers over the course of a school year. With people who are training to become teachers, it's really great because you get to know them by name, and you see their progress as they immerse themselves in material to help them achieve their professional goals. Whereas when I moved into an agency, then MySpace and now Google, you're more removed from the people who are you're affecting day to day, and so it can be tougher to be motivated when you don't get to see the impact immediately. But on the other hand, being able to make products that are used by millions of people is addicting, and it's something that I'm not sure I'll ever be able to let go of unless I went back to that like one-on-one impact right away. The other thing that's really different is when you're working in teacher certification, you're creating a product where you're defining the content for that product. In the same way at an agency is you're working with a client, but you, in the end, your writing team is and your video team is helping create the content. Whereas at MySpace and Google, it's all user-generated content or content created by other people. And so you're much more focused on creating frameworks that content can go into and learning how to be as flexible as possible and understanding that it's not going to work out perfectly and you don't actually get to decide what words appear everywhere. It's a big change.
Sure, yeah. And going from that one-on-one kind of regional scale of creating content to, like you said, a more global scale of creating frameworks, where do you find inspiration for that kind of work?
Hmm. The Well, one thing I do love doing is I love watching people use things. I love observing people. It drives my husband crazy. I like watching him use a computer because it's so different from how I use one. That he'll turn his computer away from me so I can't see what he's doing. And one of my favorite places to observe people outside of a lab, because labs make it really difficult to get a sense of what somebody's day is really like. So I love doing ethnographic research, and I love just watching people in places where they're not very self-conscious. So a great place to observe people is somewhere like the grocery store or the bank, because the person there has a job to do, and they're just thinking about getting that job done. They're not thinking about somebody watching them from the outside. And so any place where I can actually observe people going about their real everyday lives is helpful to me as a designer and thinking about what people's needs are. as I'm working toward a solution.
Sure, that makes sense. I actually often think about, what does this conveyor belt say about me as a person when like those thoughts actually go through my head when I'm going to like the checkout line at the grocery store. So,
but it doesn't keep you from buying toilet paper, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'll have to get the things that you need to get, and that's the beauty of the grocery store. You're going to fulfill all of your basic human needs there.
Right.
Versus, if you're out at a club, you understand that other people are observing you and judging you, so it's really different.
Yeah, totally. So let's talk about Delight. You'll be talking about storyboarding there. So in thinking about storyboarding, why is it sometimes a more effective way of brainstorming or collaborating with a team to work on product development than some other methods out there?
Well, I really love storyboarding because it helps a team focus on and create a vision for a product. So you start out with the brainstorming where you're coming up with a ton of ideas, and storyboarding helps you narrow down and really think about the human use case for these ideas, and it helps you validate whether or not your product really makes sense for people. So if you can't tell a story about the product and you can't tell a story about how somebody's going to use it, doesn't make sense for you to build it in the first place. And so storyboarding can really help your team figure out whether or not you should be building something. And then as you're creating this product from design to development, you can come back to your storyboard and make sure that you're holding true to that earlier vision that you had, or seeing if you need to change that vision and trying to go back and figure out if you need to update your story as well. And I really like it early on in a product sprint. So when I'm running a sprint with the team here at Google, and the designers here often act as consultants to groups within the organization, is that you can come in, figure out a 3-day or a 5-day sprint, and at the end of the first day, at the beginning of the second day, you're usually ready to create your storyboard. So you've done some background work, and that's the point which you want to really hone in and focus on the idea of what the team's going to be making.
Sure. Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question to you, is when is it the best time to kind of bring in the storyboarding thing? But then to that point, what types of teams do you see this being most effective for?
It's really great for a mixed team. So storyboards work really well if you have a team that consists of not just designers, but designers, engineers, product folks, and marketing can be a huge help in storyboarding as well. So when you're creating a product, I would say don't leave out your marketing team, because they're going to be key to communicating those product needs with your consumers. So really it's that mixed team that can come together around a storyboard where it's going to be really helpful. If you have a team of just designers or just engineers or just product folks, you're going to miss out on some user needs that you might not be considering, and so having that mixture of viewpoints is really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. I know a lot of friends in the startup space, in the marketing team specifically, have had a lot of angst with product teams that don't necessarily consult with them or even think to talk to them in the process, so I think that makes a lot of sense. So what are you looking forward to about Delight?
Probably the food more than anything else. I had a great experience attending Delight last year. The ice cream was wonderful. But I think the food is just symbolic of the little touches that go into the conference and make it such a wonderful experience, that you know that every part of it has been thought about from beginning to end, and that it's not just happenstance, but it's very curated. I'm also really looking forward to the presentations on data and design from folks at NPR. And then also the people from Forrester always have really interesting things to say about the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much for the kind words on the conference. I mean, certainly we do aim to make it a delightful experience for everyone. And so now going from attendee to speaker, I think it'll be a completely different experience for you, hopefully for the better.
A little more intense, I think, but I'm looking forward to meeting all the people who attend the workshop as well, and just getting outside of Silicon Valley. I had a great experience meeting folks from all over the U.S. at last year's conference.
Yeah, we're definitely actually seeing even more coming from outside the region, so that's really exciting to see.
Nice.
Cool. So I'm so excited to see you in a few months, Abby, and thanks so much for chatting with me today.
Sure, it was great to chat with you too.
Cool. All right, I'll talk to you soon, Abby.
All right.
Bye-bye.